We might find this poem a little bit more difficult. I wanted you to read it partly because it's a good example of situational irony, but also because it makes an important point about life. The speaker is an antique specialist who spends a lot of time at flea markets and junk sales. On Sundays, when the rain held off, after lunch or later, I would go with my 12-year-old daughter into town and put down the time at junk sales, antique fairs. So we see that the speaker takes his or her, the gender of the speaker is never specified, 12-year-old daughter on Sunday afternoons to the sales. There I would lean over tables, absorbed by place, wooden frames, glass. My daughter stood at the other end of the room, her flame-colored hair obvious whenever, which was not often, I turned around. So when they got to the flea market, or whatever kind of sale it was, the speaker became absorbed in all the old antiques, looked at them, analyzed them, and once in a while she would look up and see her red-headed daughter just kind of hanging around. Now it's interesting that the line "I turned around" is written twice. That's not a misprint. It's the moment when the sauce begins to thicken. It should be read like this: My daughter stood at the other end of the room, her flame-colored hair obvious whenever, which was not often, I turned around. I turned around. The first "I turned around" is a literal turning around. The second "I turned around" is a metaphorical turning around. It refers to how quickly time passes, as in the expression, I turned around and my kids were grown. I turned around and I was in college. I turned around and she was gone. Grown. No longer ready to come with me whenever a dry Sunday held out its promises of small histories, endings. Small histories refers to the stories held in the antiques. Each antique contains a small history. The word endings has a lot of connotations. Endings, in one sense, refers to the antiques. The antiques possess a history, but they have ended up in the sale. That is their ending. But of course, endings also refer to the daughter's growing up. Her childhood has ended. Her living at home, perhaps, has ended. The nature of the relationship that a 12-year-old has with a parent has ended. When I was young, I studied styles, their use and origin, which age was known for which ornament, and was always drawn to a lyric speech, a civil tone, but never thought I would have the need, as I do now, for a darker one. So we learn a little about the speaker's background. This speaker has been a student of old artifacts, the kind of thing you might find in flea markets and antique shops. The speaker knew which item was Victorian, which was Edwardian, etc. The phrase, and was always drawn to a civil speech, a lyric speech, a civil tone, might be a little confusing. Antique people are often cultured and educated. They speak not only in a civil way, but they often speak rapturously, almost poetically at times, about the items they love. That's what I think a lyric speech, a civil tone, refers to. But never thought I would have the need, as I do now, for a darker one. A darker what? A darker speech and tone. The speaker has need of a darker speech and tone. Why? Because her beautiful 12-year-old daughter is gone, grown up, and the speaker didn't take enough notice of her, didn't appreciate her while she had the chance. Spirit of irony, my caustic author. The word caustic means something that burns into you. We often speak of acids as being caustic substances. It's painful. Spirit of irony, my caustic author of the past, of memory, and of its pain, which returns, hurts, stings, reproach me now. Reproach means blame. Remind me that I was in those rooms with my child, with my back turned to her, searching, oh irony, for beautiful things. Well, first of all, let's define a poetic term, apostrophe. Apostrophe is a poetic device whereby an absent person or a non-human object is directly addressed. In the last stanza, the spirit of irony is directly addressed. Spirit of irony, blame me for being so stupid that I spent all those years with my head down, combing through old artifacts looking for beautiful things, when the most beautiful thing of all, my daughter, was right there, and I didn't appreciate her presence. Two things. First, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is a poem about the consolation of good memories and how they give us pleasure in our pensive moments. This is a poem about the pain of bad memories and how they torture us with regret. Bad decisions linger. Their memory stings and fills us with remorse. Both poems express a truth about memory. Secondly, this is a poem which uses situational irony. This circumstance has not turned at all out like the speaker thought it would. During all those Sunday afternoons searching for beautiful things, the speaker had no idea that he or she was missing the most beautiful thing of all, and the one easiest to see, the daughter. So we might say that this poem has the same subject as I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, memory, but a different theme. Or we might spin it this way and say that the subject of the poem is seeing. Remember, I've told you over and over again that all poetry, in one way or another, is about seeing. And we might say that the theme is appreciate what you have while you have it, because it won't always be there. When you're talking about good literature, there are usually multiple layers of subject and theme.